All right, all right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good, good. So my name is Kyle Goodwin. I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales and Operations for Spectro Cloud. I'm excited to have with me here today Shiv Adiyapan. He's the Vice President of Global Reliability Engineering for Yum Brands, as well as Ryan Good, Director of Reliability and Platform Engineering, and Justin Swagler, AWS Worldwide Head of Physical Retail. So we're actually here today to discuss how we together as three organizations have reinvented Retail Edge. So we'll kick off with them actually telling us a little bit about themselves. So Shiv, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Shiv Adiyapan. I lead the global reliability engineering at Yum Brands. As you all know, Yum Brands owns Taco Bell, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Habit Burger. And I've been with the company for the last 5 years, focusing on the site reliability engineering, incident management, and scalability for our platforms.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Good. I lead our reliability and platform engineering, so a lot of our developer enablement, but also infrastructure, all the fun stuff that actually sells the pizza, the chicken, the tacos that we have. So.
And lastly, Justin Swagler, part of AWS. I serve as Worldwide Head of Physical Retail. So any and everything as we think about technology, experiences, operations, and innovation across physical retail, restaurants, and consumer goods, I'm owning from that side from an AWS.
Excellent, thanks guys. So Yum Brands runs thousands of locations globally, and tech innovation is happening not just in the cloud, but also at the edge. So today we're actually going to explore how Yum, AWS, and Spectro Cloud are reinventing that in-store architecture to deliver agility, AI, and scalability. So let's start with you, Shiv. What sparked this transformation in the first place at Yum?
Yeah, Yum is the largest restaurant chain in the world. They operate out of 155 countries. The journey for selling our food product has been transforming into more of digital. And 5 years ago, when I joined Yum, right before joining Yum decided to kind of own its own technology, build their own first-party technology platform to run the restaurant ecosystem end-to-end. As you kind of do that, you're building your cloud platforms, your digital platforms. In-store becomes such a key part of it because there's a customer journey at one end, and there's the restaurant operations and our store operators' experience on the other end. So it basically comes together to form the ecosystem, and we basically have been building the modular product ecosystem over the last 5 years. And we've scaled a lot of our products, we call like by Yum. It's scaled across like 20,000 plus restaurants already.
So how is that, and I think you and Ryan can tag team this a little bit, but how has that increased the speed of your operation, uptime? Has it impacted the uptime, agility overall? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, especially with the way that we think of platform engineering and we think of building platforms that are self-service, right? One of the key things is, you have these operations issues in the restaurants that can now be handled at the level 1 help desk, right? They can see and have visibility, but then also the tooling to take action to restart workloads that might be hung up. Then restart those POS devices that throw up errors before even having to escalate it to some of those level 3s or those higher level engineers. So you stop that cycle much faster, and so you get them back into business a lot quicker. So yeah, absolutely, huge unlock for that.
Yeah, to add to that, operating a restaurant, taking orders means even if internet goes down, cloud goes down, the last mode for us is running the order taking process. And it's important that the in-store technology supports that. It's the backbone of our sales.
Excellent. So from AWS's perspective, Justin, what are some of the key architectural elements of the services that make it possible to run AI, ML workloads?
Yeah, really underpinning that comes down to creating a unified kind of management system as you think about Kubernetes and your applications across any channel, right? And underpinning that is Amazon EKS hybrid nodes, which AWS announced last year at Reinventing this time, and it's really accelerating the journey for customers like Yum, other retailers that I engage with around the world as they think about creating that unified management experience, right? Yum Brands, 40,000 locations? Lots of locations, right? Across edge devices and all those applications, right? That's a lot of locations that have to be managed as far as doing modernization, deploying new applications. And with EKS hybrid nodes powered by Spectro Cloud, that gives you kind of a single pane of glass, right? A control plane to allow you to get that visibility as far as what am I running, where am I having issues, how can I resolve those, and to do that quickly and modernize that, in a period of days or weeks versus months and years that other customers are dealing with in the past. And that's fundamental, because you think about from a retail and consumer industry standpoint, we as shoppers, we shop all channels, mobile, digital, voice, in physical locations. And by having that unified control plane, that allows you to better manage that experience from any touch point that a shopper's going through. So that's kind of one fundamental aspect is with EKS hybrid nodes. The second comes down as you think about like a resilient edge and AI applications that you start to bring in to those locations. So if I do model training on a SageMaker or with Bedrock in the cloud, I can start to deploy lightweight AI models or applications directly at the edge that are really custom fit to the workload, to the use case that I'm trying to solve. And again, by having that hybrid, unified architecture, that really allows for customers like Yum to start to bring those applications into their stores.
Thanks, Justin. So we talk a lot about being better together, just across the industry. So from a collaboration perspective, this obviously spans Yum, Spectro Cloud, and AWS. So what is each partner's role? So we'll start with you, Shiv. But how do you think each partner's role really shaped the overall solution?
Yeah, I think we couldn't build everything. That's the fundamental part of it. While we own the first-party technology and platform, we had to choose the right partner solution for our architecture, the ecosystem that we're building in. AWS for us being a very strong partner for over the years, and what we do is essentially we work with them closely. We bring our solution roadmap architecture together, and then what AWS does really well for us is connect us, essentially do the matchmaking with appropriate solutions that's out there. It's just not one solution, go with this. It's you got all these options that you can try it out, and Spectro is one of those things where we had a solution, I think you mentioned, right, Justin, is we got to start thinking about the in-store or the edge workloads not as separate, it's part of the cloud ecosystem. Because the second you start thinking about it as something different, then you start fragmenting your solutions. And that's kind of where bringing in a Kubernetes-based solution, some of those things becomes more critical for us.
Anything to add, Ryan?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's having a thought partner in AWS that can bring us to those different solutions is huge, right? Not only that, we can't see everything. We don't have those relationships with a lot of vendors, and so they, again, like Shiv said, are the matchmakers when it comes to that. But then, to the point of all right, we have, this ecosystem that we've been building that the same teams that build for the cloud also need to be able to build for the edge, right? So we can, with that kind of partnership and single layer, that single pane of glass, have the same teams building workloads and AI, whatever that might be, all the way through our entire ecosystem. So yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, in general, from an AWS standpoint, partners are fundamental to how we help customers like Yum Brands being able to provide the right type of ISVs and partners like a Spectro Cloud to tackle some of those meaty challenges, underpinned by AWS and Amazon services, but then also how can we be that strategic partner with you to go even beyond just from a Spectro side, right? How do we think about bringing in the AI? If we're looking at computer vision and IoT and agentic inside of your containers, right? How can AWS build on top of that with you, powered by Spectro Cloud, to then really create that unlock? So it is truly a 1 + 1 = 3 long term.
Yeah, and I think just to add on a little bit to that is connecting us even with other customers that are doing some of these things. We think about reliability, and you think about as we start to look at scaling these things to the edge, we can't be everywhere. And so even that example I gave about level ones being able to click some buttons and restart pods, eventually that needs to be automated, right? And so going out and being connected with customers that are already doing some of those things and learning from them and best practices and what models to use and all of that kind of stuff, right? That's where getting in those rooms and making those connections is key for that.
Got it. That's actually a good segue to kind of the sub part of the question, which is what we see a lot in the industry is aligning enterprise needs with edge and AI innovation. What lessons did you guys learn in that process from a Yum perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in here. So one of the things that we wanted to do is like, Edge is a solution that gets into the restaurant, that stays there for like 5 years, 10 years. Then how do you build for modernization, scalability with that? So one of the ideas, and remember Ryan, myself, and a couple of our team members, early on before going into the solutioning phase, is we have to extend the edge into the cloud. Think about a world where your edge server is also a container, like it's just a node running in the restaurant, and what it would take to scale the workloads from edge into the cloud. That was kind of like the key underpinning of like future-proofing our technology, right? Like otherwise, 5 years later, 10 years later, all these new hardware comes in, a lot more efficient, then you just can't truck roll everywhere to go recycle all those things. So that was definitely a tricky one, where keep the cost low. If you do want it to extend it, build it modular in a way where you do this, and then make sure that it's future-proofed enough to leverage the infinite scale of the cloud that you normally want to use there for.
I think to build on that, right, with what you've done here with Spectro, right, that's fundamental. That's part of your foundation. You know, if we want to bring in AI, if I want to bring in all these cool agentic capabilities, but I don't have the foundation set up correctly, like you're setting yourself up to fail, right? So a lot of our customers are realizing the potential of, yes, I need to modernize, I need to better connect and unify my edge, my Kubernetes into the cloud, et cetera, so that I, A, can streamline that, reduce my IT overhead cost by a significant amount, have full resiliency, low latency, no downtime, so that then I have that foundation built to then start to do like those proof of concepts, right? Starting small, scaling it from there, and then driving further value.
It 100% unlocks a lot more workloads that we haven't thought about yet. We have use cases that we're building based off of, but we have the infrastructure now. Now, the time to market for a new functionality feature drastically reduces when you have the infrastructure ready to go.
So all of the hard work that we're doing here is really, in my mind, about a few things, but we'll talk about one here, which is improving the customer experience, right? Yeah. And so in knowing, and Ryan, this is for you, knowing that Yum is prioritizing, AI and GPU workloads overall, can you give us some concrete examples of how AWS and Spectro together are actually doing that for Yum?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things is, when you think about real-time data analytics, right? Like a lot of times right now, especially if we don't have this stuff running at the edge, you're having to ship that up to the cloud to do your analysis. It may not be relevant anymore, right? By the time you get that information down to those store managers or to those franchisees, okay, cool, that's a week old. There's nothing I can do for that, right? So as you look at kind of where it's going in the future of being able to analyze that real time locally, they can start to take action then. And then you start to build agents and you start to be able to say, okay, now automatically take action. That's going to allow those store managers, those store employees to focus on the things that matter, which is the customer experience, right? If you think about retail and you think of, like I remember back in the day when I worked in retail and my manager would be in the office running those reports constantly, right? Like every 20, 30 minutes they'd disappear, they'd be gone for an hour and they'd come back, oh, here's the latest sales report. What if all of that was just automated and they had the action, they could do all of that, they could spend time with the customers, they could be out there greeting them, they could really enhance their experience coming into your retail store or into your restaurant. And then you have our other line employees who can focus on making better quality food, they can focus on the things that matter to them rather than, oh shoot, we're out of tacos, we're out of tortillas.
I was about to go there. I was about to go there with tacos.
Right, exactly. So like, those things can really hamper the operations. And if you take all of that out of their mental load and they just have smooth operations, customers are going to benefit, the employees are going to benefit, everyone's going to benefit.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll add on to that is like the customer experience is one thing, the team members' experience is as equally important to us. That's how you get the best food out to the customers as fast as possible. And our goal was always just make the technology work. It's like email, like somebody said it before, it just should work. And how do you make it happen is basically build that right infrastructure underneath it. Then you kind of like remove the technology from how things work, where it's not in your face. You're not having your restaurant team members becoming like their own tech people, like trying to unplug and replug wires and things like that. So, I mean, to me, like the operational side, the benefit that comes out of that has been a huge thing for us. Outside of, I mean, there's definitely business use cases that we can run from an AI, ML workload perspective. But we have our own, like half of our containers are our own internal containers, core containers, because we could do so much more. Observability, streamlining the connectivity back into the cloud, like funneling through one node up, rather than having like 20 different devices shipping logs to the cloud, things like that.
I mean, of consumer industries, right? Retail, restaurants, consumer goods, right? Providing that real-time, proactive visibility. If an agent or your containers can tell me an issue before I, as a restaurant manager, as a store manager, even before I know, and be able to respond to that, that's driving value, right? I mean, if your cookers fail, right, and you don't know until after it happens, that's bad, right? And how, by deploying this kind of modern, unified infrastructure, it can start to predict it ahead of time so that I can resolve it ahead of time, right? Yeah. Which drives the experience.
Operational stability part is like workloads that basically saying, rather than saying something's wrong, it says what exactly is wrong, then you're jumping into the recovery part of it as fast as you can.
Yeah. And it's critically important given, I mean, yes, digital commerce is growing, but even younger generations still want the experience inside of stores, right? So again, you can really focus on that experience, making sure it's seamless, it's connected, and that it's providing a great experience for your shoppers.
So Justin, since you're on the mic, technology is rapidly evolving, especially as we keep talking about with AI and really data-driven retail overall. How do you see cloud-to-edge architecture adapting and evolving over the next few years to keep retailers like Yum actually ahead of the curve?
Yeah, I mean, agentic is going to be a big area that's coming over the next couple of years. We're starting to build that now with customers as we think about in physical locations. But I mean, a lot of the research that we're seeing across the industry, I mean, 90% of retailers are going to be investing in AI algorithms at the edge. They're going to be deploying that to reduce costs in IT. They're going to be doing that to improve workforce efficiency, make them, you know, even if they save 30, 40 minutes of their time in the day and they can focus on the experience, right? So those are the trends that are shaping how customers like Yum need to architect and the types of applications they need to build to be able to promote some of that. So in essence, I mean, the evolution is going to be starting that whole real time, right? I have that infrastructure. I'm now capturing IoT data, all this other data. I'm able to analyze it in real time. I'm able to respond, whether it is solving an issue, whether it's personalization, retail media, engagement, et cetera, to be able to really create a much more seamless experience, not just for the shopper, but also your workforce as well.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is there's two parts, right? One is the small language models that's locally running. The other one is the spigot for the connectivity that allows to take big workloads, ship it out to the cloud, asynchronously get the response back, and you need that edge component to be able to play that role as well.
All right, guys, so we're coming up on time. Quick rapid fire. We'll start with you, Shiv. What's one piece of advice you'd give to other tech leaders trying to modernize? How do they not get left behind?
Yeah, I think understanding, like thinking through the ecosystem and adding those puzzle pieces is going to be such a key part. It's so hard to take all these pieces and try to make it work together. So we do this ecosystem diagram where everything just needs to connect and loop back in, nothing just stays on the side somewhere. So I think that's such an important vision part of it. I say that building things is now easy. It's the thinking, the strategy part is the hard now.
Awesome. Ryan, one piece of advice.
One piece of advice would be lean into just trying things. I think you can't be afraid to just try something new and put it out there. And I think the strategy thing is exactly it. Like, think about all of those, the things you're trying to solve. Look at it as like a multifaceted piece, not just like a single slice, right? You think about all of the aspects of that thing that you're trying to solve. Customer, employee, business, like all of that is part of it. Hopefully, then just leaning in on trying some of those things and realizing you're not going to get it right, but if you build it in a way to be modular, you can enhance it later.
Awesome. Justin?
I mean, one of our Amazonian principles is around starting small, right? Test it out. Proof of concept. Explore, right? Be a bit curious around what can technology, like a hybrid approach from an edge and cloud, what can that unlock for you? Start small and then scale it from there. But also, modernization like this is a meaty challenge, right? It can feel overwhelming of like, wow, I really need to completely change what I'm doing, right? And that's why it's important to start small, try that out, and slowly start to slice away at bringing those kind of capabilities. And that with a strategic view long term, as Shiv and Ryan have talked about, and starting small, I think that helps set the foundation for allowing to really accelerate overall modernization.
Excellent, guys. So what you guys have heard today is really the power of 3 organizations coming together for one mission. And that mission was to help Yum deliver consistent, reliable, and innovative experiences to their customers. So give them a round of applause for what they've been able to deliver. And overall, AWS provides that global foundation, global scalable foundation, Spectro Cloud delivering that operating layer from a Kubernetes perspective, and then Yum bringing the vision, as Shiv has talked about, as Ryan has talked about, really driving with that strategy that pushes all to reinvent. So if we can make infrastructure invisible, we can accelerate transformation. So thank you all.